So it's a panel that's called Los Galácticos, Cybersecurity, Silicon Valley, and IPOs. And I want to welcome the moderator for the next panel, Gregoire du Padraic, investor manager at Orange Digital Ventures. Please welcome Greg. Please welcome Julio Casal, CEO of Alien Bolt, and most recently 4IQ, and finally Alberto Yepez, co-founder of Trident Capital Cybersecurity. Big applause. Thank you, guys.
Hello, Julio. Hello, Alberto. I'm very pleased to be with you today. So, Julio, you are the co-founder of Alien Bolt, and maybe you have some words about Alien Bolt.
Yes, so I'm one of the founders of Alien Bolt. Now I just launched a new startup called 4IQ, and also one of the co-founders. And, should explain a little bit of Alien Bolt. Just very briefly.
How many employees and how much money you earn every year?
Yeah, very brief summary of Alien Bolt. We've spoken the story, but for those who haven't heard it. So Alien Bolt was a garage startup. It started in Madrid, 40,000 euros to people, and they did all the long journey up to what it could be today. Hopefully, it could be a unicorn. It may be a unicorn. We raised more than $100 million, 5-6 venture capitals in Silicon Valley, top names, including Trident and Cyber Capital. So it's a complete journey from the small startup, bridging the gap up to Silicon Valley.
Yeah, it's impressive. Alberto, you are we are co-founder of Trident Capital Cybersecurity. You are the largest firm and dedicated to cybersecurity in the world. Yeah. Maybe you have some words to describe Trident Capital.
Yeah, well, we see a tremendous opportunity right now to invest and create new businesses to protect individuals, government, and businesses. So it's top of mind with all the stuff that is going on with cyber terrorism and all the online banking and all the stuff. We're concerned about our privacy. So Trident Capital Cybersecurity was founded exclusively to invest in companies in cybersecurity. Prior to that, we were investors in Alien Bolt. I'm currently the largest investor in Alien Bolt and chairman of the board. But also we'll tell you a little bit about how we also re-engaging with Julio to invest in 4IQ. So cybersecurity as a market today is about $100 billion market. I'm moving in the next 5 to 6 years to be a $1 trillion market. So the opportunity is tremendous, and I think innovation is happening everywhere, not just in Silicon Valley. And we're very happy to be investors in Spanish companies.
Julio, which is very impressive in Alien Bolt is that cybersecurity clusters are much more in the US or in Israel. How come a Spanish startup managed to be one of the leaders in cybersecurity? How did you manage?
Yeah, so again, it's a very, very long journey, and with a different number of, just imagine from that small size to the size that is today, but so many phases and so different nature in the challenges. So at the beginning was obviously the vision, the technological vision, then it was financial, then it was legal, there was a lot of legal challenges. Then we have to reinvent, we landed in Silicon Valley, and I can tell you it's absolutely different, the market there as compared to the competitiveness, the ecosystem. So we have to reinvent ourselves at least 1 or 2 times, re-architecture completely the company, but with the help of our partners. And then the key for us was, so how do you do it from that? No, how do you overcome that incredible competitive disadvantage that, in my opinion, you have been an entrepreneur in Spain and launching compared to the US huge market and the US incredible funding ecosystem. So I think the key for us was we envisioned a product. It didn't exist. We envisioned a market. It was the CM market prior to 2 years before. But not only that, we also envisioned a go-to-market strategy, defensive positioning, which was an open source community that allowed us to be more competitive, generate leads, create a brand, a global brand with very, very small money, because the global brand in cybersecurity is supposed to be 100 million in cost, and we didn't have 100 million in cost. So all that competitive advantages well, allowed us, they gave us the opportunity, and we were in a kind of defensive positioning, able to compete with these big guys. No? And then, of course, when we landed there, everything re-architected, and the key was to find the right partners. No? So entering into Silicon Valley is obviously not easy. You're not going to go there. It's a lot of funds and a lot of money, but it's very difficult to open that door. No? But the key. So I think it was a chain of trust, and the door was opened by Alberto. And after that, Alberto brought some executives, very well-known executives, who they brought other Kleiner Perkins, which is a big name in the event. And that chain of trust led us to create this big company that we have today.
Okay. Alberto, do you see other cluster, other ecosystem developing in the world, in Spain, Europe, and?
Yeah, innovation in cybersecurity, like I said, is happening everywhere. You always talk about Silicon Valley as one of the centers of innovation. In the US alone, we see a lot of innovation coming out of the government, many of the intelligence agencies. So in Washington, D.C. and Maryland, we see a lot of companies coming in entering the market. Of course, Israel is another market where you see a lot of cyber entrepreneurs. But Spain has its own fair share. And through Julio and through coming to South Summit and other things, we've been exposed to very interesting companies. And so the ecosystem is not just about the entrepreneur, it's the culture of risk, because Julio effectively left a comfort zone being in Spain, pretty much one-way ticket to Silicon Valley, and then hoping to take a risk and find the right partners. But then you need to have the corporate partners to help you buy the products. And I think what we're seeing in Spain specifically, just look at South Summit, customers like BBVA, Santander, Telefónica are beginning to support entrepreneurs by validating the solutions. Then you have venture funds that are taking the early risk, Adara Ventures, a number of them, Kibo Ventures, that actually are giving the initial money to get the Spanish entrepreneur to be noted by other venture funds like ours in the States. And then you have now, besides the entrepreneurs, you have the venture funds, the regional venture funds, the global venture funds, and then you start competing at a global level. And there you need the government to take an active role to give facilities to transfer a company with a Spanish intellectual property into the US. For instance, for us, we were one of the very first companies in Alien Vault to actually use a new law that basically called re-domestication.
Well, I think we were the first, I think.
We were the first, and in the audience we see some of our partners like the legal firm Cuatro Casas. Pedro Fernandez was very instrumental to teach us what it needed to be done, but worked with a firm in the US to actually accomplish that. And since then, I think they've done more than 30. But it's important to understand that the ecosystem is not just a set of individuals and a chain of trust, but there's a lot of other groups that need to come together. And the same thing happens with Israel or any other groups that come about.
Coming back to the very beginning of Alien Vault, how it was difficult for you to get the first support in Spain regarding corporate and
the first, sorry?
Support.
Yeah, so we had a great venture capital here. It's Adara Venture Partners in Spain. And that gave us the gasoline to fly to Silicon Valley. So I think we were lucky. That, of course, that was the first round, a smaller size round, etc. But yeah, I guess that we're lucky. There's good venture capitals in Spain to bridge you and try to. And the interesting thing is now in the new company, Adara is again with us, as well as Trident. And Adara has been also fueling many startups or some startups to do the same trip, the same journey. So I think we're bridging this gap slowly, creating this bridge, creating this ecosystem. No?
What is different in a Spanish startup, when we invested in Alien Vault already had customers like Telefónica, like Metro Madrid, and large corporations. Sometimes in Silicon Valley you have the idea, comes out of the university, they don't have clients, they have, this is what I'm going to build, and they make you believe. But what's very interesting to us is that when we talk to Julio, He already have a number of open source customers that, well, they're free, converting into freemium model, but also there were some paying customers. And they give us a lot of confidence because many people validated the solution, and our job was to commercialize it to compete at a global level, not only with the skills of product management and how you go to market and create the partner ecosystem, but more importantly, bring in the executives that had the experience to compete at a global level. And so you start with different teams at different levels, and like Julio says, you reinvent yourself multiple times, and right now, Alienable is shifted to become probably the most interesting company for the middle market, because if you look at the cybersecurity trends, the two big issues you have is it's a very complex problem, and there are not that many cybersecurity professionals. There's a shortage. So you need to bring automation, you make it easy to adopt. And the other thing is you have a lot of companies and you have to integrate. So the large corporations had to pay to integrate these solutions, but in the case of Alienable, they provided an integrated solution that it was easily adopted, consumed, and deployed. Now, we use a velocity sales model that everybody talks about. Instead of having people directly calling every single company, we sell a lot of that software over the phone. Imagine selling security and compliance over the phone. Right now, Alienable has about 5,000 customers. Last quarter alone, we added 500 customers in one quarter. So you see that the momentum in the building, in the brand, and in the product, it's a very coordinated effect. But you learn a lot in the process.
So Alienable is the next future Spanish unicorn?
We don't know, hopefully. The momentum is there,
Yep.
so we'll see.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's necessary to go to the Silicon Valley to become a unicorn? It's the only journey?
I'll give you your opinion, Julio, and I can tell you after that.
Oh, that's a very difficult question. You can answer.
Well, unicorns it's just elusive. It's more primarily associated with companies that go play in the consumer market. Enterprise companies take a little longer. And you have unicorns in China, but they're primarily consumer related. In terms of B2B or enterprise solutions or business solutions, yes, I think we have a lot of the elements to be the unicorn, but more importantly, you have to be stable, and you're not looking to just add the number of customers or downloads. In these cases, you're protecting governments, you're protecting businesses, you're protecting individuals, and it's a pretty serious business. So yeah, I think we have the potential. We have hired the right individuals to prepare the company for a public offering. We have a board of directors that have been in public companies, so we're doing all the right things to actually do that. And depending on how the market momentum continues, we'll probably get there. And but it's a journey, like you say. You learn a lot, right?
Long journey.
Yeah.
Alberto, for you, what are the next biggest challenge regarding cybersecurity? Which are the main trends you can see right now?
Mm-hmm. Like I said, the two biggest issues, there's not enough cybersecurity professionals. You have to integrate solutions. So a lot of the solutions are moving to the cloud, but that's broadly speaking in the market. But I think that there are multiple trends because there's new platforms emerging, like mobility, virtualization, the cloud, social networks, and all they're coming together because it's changing the way we learn, the way we communicate, the way we collaborate. You begin seeing information that appears in the deep web and the dark web, where you didn't know you were breached, and all of a sudden Yahoo, a corporation that a lot of people admire, realized that they lost personal information of 500 million customers. And they perhaps didn't know it, but that started showing up in the deep web and the dark web. And one of the most interesting things that we realized, and when Julio came with the idea, look, everybody's focusing on today's market, but this new market in cyber intelligence is amazing, and I have an idea, and we can do it again, and the same teams that we work together with in Granada and Madrid can do something about it, and that's how 4IQ gets born. So maybe, Julio, you can share a little bit what you saw in this new trend that is beginning to get a lot of information being traded in the deep web and the dark web.
From my perspective, there's a new battlefront. There's a digital war, absolutely there. So if you look at just, for example, ISIS, the cyber jihad, so this is a terrorist, they're putting bombs, they're killing people, but everything is orchestrated, all the propaganda, all the recruitment is done digital. It wouldn't exist, ISIS, without. So that new space that is called the deep and dark web is a parallel internet, and there are all these terrorism, criminals, and hacktivisms orchestrating, trading, exchanging, selling, and buying. So that was the vision for IQ. And we said, oh, this is such a big problem, such a big exposure, a space of exposure. We need to track that. This is a new chapter for security you need to track. And the interesting thing is this converging of cybersecurity and cyber intel, because we're looking at terrorism, we're looking at really tracking people, groups of people, companies, all those relationships, rather than the classical technical assets. No? Cybersecurity is more IP addresses, and so the techniques are more intel-based, but we see that convergence. No? Cyber physical security and intel teams and cyber teams, they're really converging into that space. So that's 4IQ, the new company we launched.
Why don't you share what we did in Panama before a lot of...
Just examples of those are Panama Papers. No? So Alberto and myself, we were in Panama 1 year before Panama Papers. We were talking to actually these guys that had this huge problem. And we were saying, hey guys, at some point, there's no way this is going to happen. At some point, one lawyer data is going to go into the deep and dark web. And this is going to create an earthquake, a global earthquake, because it's such an amount of quantity of exposure, liable information out there. And it did happen. No? Another good example is what you were saying. Yahoo breach is supposed to be 1 billion records, not just 500 million. Can you believe that is 1/5 or 1/6 of the internet population in just one breach? In the current year, we've had more than 2 billion records of PII, personal information, out there, which is 1/3 of the internet population. So the problem is just growing. No? It's just incredibly big. We're seeing that.
And you know, the reason why all these breaches happen is because there's money to be made. So when you steal, let's say, a retail company loses the customer data. So oftentimes it's credit cards is often targeted to be able to get those numbers. And so when you collect, there was a retail in the US that lost about 72 million records with credit cards. Immediately this shows up in the deep web, or in the dark web, and each credit card is about $30. And it depends on how much complete information do you have, so you can make real money. So the criminals that used to come into a bank with a gun and ask you for the money, they don't have to do that anymore. They go and compromise the digital records, not only by stealing customer information, or what happened in most recently with the SWIFT system, you know, in Bangladesh, they basically took over through social engineering, and they stole a lot of records and money. And if it wouldn't be for someone making a mistake, instead of putting a specific letter before the other, that triggered a lot of alarms. So you're seeing that, you know, cyber crime is organized and is well funded. And what we're seeing, the scary part is the state sponsor attacks. And you see a lot of different countries that use either to steal intellectual property, they're well known. Others, they use that as a way to neutralize before they invade a country, or others to just create instability, like you saw what happened with Sony Pictures when, you know, a head of state was being compromised, and they basically not only took over all the data, they made it public, and they created a lot of problems for Sony. So it's actually, and it's a state sponsor where a company doesn't have enough money or resources to compete against a cyber team or cyber army that is attacking you. So there's a lot of implications about the cyber insurance, the liability for directors. So the market itself, I know we talked about it in broad numbers, it's a market that is emerging, it's only going to explode.
The tools which exist today are okay to avoid a breach, or do you think we have many things to invent? And
unfortunately, they're not, because as we see the problem is growing more than the cybersecurity problem is just growing. So we need to create new tools and new capacities. This is this race, the dog and the cat, but at some point, it's not enough.
Yeah, the typical joke is if you put a wall that is 10 meters high, the hacker brings a ladder that is 11 meters high so that they go over. So it's because of the technology changing, there's always going to be new attack surfaces, and there's going to be a lot of space for innovation. And we're looking at how do you automate auditing. Just these 3 days in Spain, I've seen like 5 different companies that, because of the success that we achieved with Julio, they come to us and they're saying, look, we have something very unique. And we believe there's part of the industry that's being automated, and part of it is the new abilities to create things like the deep web and dark web. And some of the most important things is how you investigate the investigation platform, that part of what 4IQ does in order to not only say you have lost this data, but I have an investigation platform by saying who stole it and what you need to do in order to cover. So it's just very interesting dynamics in the market right now.
Great. If we come back to you, Julio, you are a serial entrepreneur. I think your 4IQ is your fourth startup.
Yeah.
Why don't you stay into all your startup and
why do it again? Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's a very different profile. The early stage, which is, in my opinion, is just creativity, absolutely creative, flexibility, speed, and a lot of dirt, fast and dirty. There's a total different mindset than just operational growth. No, so in my opinion, it's an absolutely 2 different roles. I know there's some founders that got to be great CEOs, but that's less than 1% of them. 99% of these founders are not good CEOs, and that is very well studied. And so that's what I like, and that's what I think I do best. I'm a horrible manager. I'm not good so I just leave that to the people that can do that.
I need to give a lot of credit to Julio, because one of the first conversations we had when we invested in, at least in Alien Bolt, 4IQ was easier. He says, so Julio, do you really want to run? He says, look, we're competing at a global level. I do not have the experience. Let's buy the best team money can buy. And together, we interviewed like 7 different CEOs, and overnight we identified a team that had been acquired by a large company, and we brought in 7 executives into Alien Bolt almost the same week. They changed the complete outlook of the company. We had the CEO, the CTO, the VP of Finance. So it was a team ready to execute. And so there's a lot of learning that goes on, and as a serial entrepreneur, you get better all the time, right?
Yeah, and that's not easy to do, what we did.
No, I know, yeah.
It has challenges,
yeah,
but ultimately it worked. It worked great.
Yeah, the biggest issue is the culture. Maybe we can talk about changes.
Oh, yeah, so one of the big, there's many challenges, growing pain and growing challenges, and when you're dealing with Spanish teams, because our model is having engineering is always in Spain, so we believe in the Spanish talents, but we put the front end, the marketing and the sales teams in the US. No? The 4IQ is the same as Alien Bolt. So those are 2 very different cultures and 2 different languages, and huge distance and on the kilometers, but also on the timing and on the zone timing. So that is pretty challenging. We are living the same right now in 4IQ. We're having this, I can't believe it. Again, we're having those. So human factor, that is one of the big difficulties when you grow, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, Julio, to conclude your show, maybe you have some advice to deliver to the Spanish entrepreneur who are here?
Well, yeah, so yes, if you think about Alien Bolt, it's not only about technology. It's about technology, but it's not only about technology. So unfortunately, that's not all of it. You have to think a lot about be very innovative in the go-to-market. How do you attract leads? How do you reduce the cost of sales? How do you do things which are disrupting the way that other guys are doing? Because you're going to have to compete with guys with more money and with bigger markets. So you have to overcome that. But there's huge opportunities, I think, in many ways, like open source, like freemium, to do that. But be very creative and innovative in all that go-to-market and other parts of the business, of a startup.
Yeah, and I would say, as entrepreneurs in Spain, make sure that whatever you write is unique. Don't copy too much. Get your intellectual property to be clean, because one of the things as investors we look for is not just the space, the solution, and the uniqueness of what you do, but we look at the intellectual properties that is very, very important, because that's what creates the value. And then you can put the machine to help you reach the global market. But technology, at the end of the day, drives a lot of that business value. And even IP, when the business model that you have. And don't forget to create an ecosystem to take you to market, because you can never be big enough to reach the global market. You have to create partners around the world to help you get there.
And that's your jobs, guys, to build this ecosystem in Spain. So congratulations.
Thank you. Well, very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, thank you. Appreciate
Thank you, guys.
that. We did it exactly.
Done.
Thank you.